In this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can set up NSB from start to finish. And within the start and finish, we're going to be reviewing sneaker setup, and then I'm going to be briefly touching up on Adidas Confirmed as well as Shopify. So first things first, when you open up the bot, you're going to be met with the home page. In the home page is where you would be creating your tasks. But if this is your first time going through the setup process, before you even get to creating tasks, there's a series of things that you're going to need to do. What's the first thing? Well, let's navigate over down to this icon right here. This icon is going to show you what the current version of the NSB update you have is. It shows you the change logs. It shows you how long you have left before your key expires. And you have the option of checking the updates from here to make sure that the bot is in fact up to date. But regardless, what we need to focus on is what you're seeing up here. So first things first, this button. This button is where you will be setting your webhook. There's a separate guide and video on how you can create a webhook in your own Discord server's channel. And then, of course, you can then add it into here. Once you've created it, just take the link and plug it into here and then press submit. Now that we've saved this, for your knowledge, this button right here will deactivate this copy, this instance from this server that I have it. So if you want to reopen it somewhere else, I'm allowed to. This button right here is browser settings. So we're going to be setting this up here. What browser settings is we're telling NSB how many browser windows do we want open at the same time when we're going for a Nike release. What you need to understand and know about NSB sneakers module is that it's browser based. So when you have browser windows opening up, it can be very CPU as well as RAM intensive. So you need to be careful with what you set. The standard in the normal amount is about 10 to 15. You may need to play around with this figure and number until you find the sweet spot, because every server is designed differently. And so may your own computer if you're planning to run this on your own computer. Once we've established what we want to add into here, we're going to need to identify where our Chrome path is. So what you will then do is you're going to select Locate Chrome. Once you've done this, it's going to open up a separate window, and here it is. You're going to click on this PC, or it may be the name of your computer. You're going to click on Local Disk, Program Files, Google. You're going to select Chrome, Applications, and then right here, Chrome. You're going to select this. We've identified where the path is now, successfully set up, and press Submit. Now, moving forward, when you are running a sneakers release, it will be actively using that path to open up Chrome browser windows to log your entries. Once this is done, we're going to navigate over to the Billings tab. Inside the Billings tab is where you're going to be importing the billing information that you will be using actively for your releases. How are we going to do this? You have two ways of being able to add your billing info. One is manual entry. If you want to manually input them, you'll click the plus button up here, and you're going to fill out all the information. Or if you're like me and you have multiple billing information that you want to bring in, you can simply select the button up here, which says import, and then you're going to import the NSB's AYCD export, if that's the tool that you use to convert and export your billing information. You're going to select that and you're going to import them in. And as you can see here, it's created a separate group for me for my profiles. I can edit this and rename it if I like. So in this case, I'm just going to call it Polar Sneakers, is it's going to be ran for sneakers releases, and that's it. Now moving forward, when I plan to create my tasks, this is the group that I will be assigning. Now, of course, for anyone that may be using NSB for more than just sneakers, you could simply import more billing profiles and you can group them through clicking the plus button, creating a new group. You can name them, for example, Confirmed if you want to, and then you can start to select the billing information that you want to group under Confirmed. Now that we've done this, our next step from billing is going to be adding in our proxies. So we're going to navigate over to proxies. We're going to select plus, and here we will be adding in our proxy list. Now for sneakers specifically, I would recommend running ISPs, but it's entirely up to you whether if you want to run Resi or if you want to run ISPs. Grab your list, plug it in, and press submit, and here we have it. Now it's all been added. If you do want to test these to make sure that they are connected, if you simply click this button up here, it'll allow you to test on a specific website to be able to see whether if there is a connection in place or not. One thing I will warn you about, though, is that bots are generally meant to be ran for releases. They're not by nature designed to be proxy testers. So the data in terms of the speed that may be returned back to you in this area here, I can assure you will not reflect exactly what it's supposed to be. What do I mean by this? It might spit back 3,000 milliseconds, but in reality, the speed is 300 milliseconds, is what I'm trying to say. So if you do wish to actually check these speeds, use the proxy tester we have within our Discord, as that is going to be a lot more beneficial and more accurate for you. Once we've set up our proxies, now our final step would be to import accounts that we're going to be using for the sneakers releases. Now, I did mention earlier that I will be briefly touching up on Confirmed as well as Shopify. Both of those sites also have accounts that you can be adding in. Not all Shopify sites are going to use accounts. There's very few of them. And those few include sites like Mamacita or Undefeated or Unknown. We have a list of them inside of the Discord if you can go check it out. But regardless, to be able to add your accounts in, you're going to navigate over to the little person right here. And then you have your account groups. So you have a main group, which you would be using for Shopify. To add them in, you're going to simply select Create. You're going to choose the Shopify site that you're planning to add the accounts in for. We're going to pretend that we're adding Kith. Kith doesn't need it, so don't worry about creating accounts for Kith. I'm just using this as an example. Kith does not need accounts. But the way the input would be is that it's the email for the account, and then you have the password. And that is done in a format fashion as you see here. Then you'll just press submit. So that's that. When it comes down to Nike, you're going to simply select Nike one and press the plus sign. In the plus sign here, you have your site drop down. So we're going to select Nike US. We're going to select the proxies that we imported. We're going to select the billing profiles that we imported. And then when it comes down to pasting your information here, we will be following the basic email and password formatting. But because Nike sends you emails with login codes that you would have to use that code to finalize your login, we are also going to be adding in what is known as IMAP credentials. There is a separate guide for that, but basically, we're going to call this your master email, where all of these Nike codes are going to be going to. You're going to add that master email address in here, and then you're going to create an app password. The app password is what will allow you to successfully establish that connection so that NSB can look inside of the email and use the code to finalize the login for you. So I've already created a list of accounts that I want to import. I'm just going to add those in right here, and that's been set up. I have my username for Nike, my password for Nike, and then I have my master email as well as my app password. Now, the next thing that I'm going to select is fill, address, and card. One thing you do need to understand is that when you toggle this on, and then you're going through the login process, you're basically telling NSB, hey, I gave you a billing profile list, which is what you see right here. Grab that billing info and add it into these Nike accounts. So it's going to fill the Nike accounts with information. If you don't want to do this because your Nike accounts already have billing information saved, you won't need to toggle this on. These accounts that I have here, they have billing information on there. But as a precaution, I'm still going to go ahead and select fill anyways, because if for any reason there's any type of mismatch in information, by mismatch I mean a specific account incorrectly attaches itself to a different billing profile. Because the cards are different, I don't want to run into any type of issues, so I'm just going to have it refill the information. We're going to press submit. Now that we've pressed submit, it is time to initiate the login process. This process is known as getting your sessions. What does getting your sessions look like? I'm going to demonstrate on one account for you that I will pause the video to complete the login process for the remainder of this, and then we're going to return back afterwards. But in the meantime, let's take a look. I simply selected the status and it converted over to processing to browser or proceeding to browser. Now let's watch the process as it goes through. And there you have it. It found the code and it's automatically adding it in for me. Now what's going to happen is it's going to close the window after the status changes. There it is. And as you can see, just as quickly as we went through it, it automatically added the billing information that's attached to this account for me. And I'm going to sign into the rest of these. Now that we finally finished going through signing in for every single account, we've officially completed the session gaining process. Now moving forward, all of these accounts in theory should remain logged in, and the requirements and the process that we just went through of logging in, waiting for the codes to come through will no longer be required. One thing that I will caution you guys is try to start these tasks in batches, the login process. Now, the reason why I say this is because if you fire up way too many of them at once, then you're going to be sending way too many login emails to the master email that you have assigned to it, which then can lead to issues scraping those codes, which is exactly what I experienced as we had paused the video. I had to rerun the tasks multiple times in order for me to be able to complete the sign-in process. So instead of creating headaches for yourself, I would just advise to start these in small batches, regardless of how many accounts you have, to ensure that you are successfully signing in. And lastly, in regards to this, don't be afraid to sign into your master emails account through your browser. And as you finalize the sign-in process for each batch, just delete the emails that come through so that it's cleared for the next batch that you start. All right, now let's get into the task creation process. So we're going to navigate over to the home page, and in here, you already have a task group created that's called Me. We're going to select the plus sign just right here. We're going to select our site. Now, if you're creating confirmed app or Adidas specific tasks, then you would simply select Adidas. If you're going to be going for a Shopify release, you could select the Shopify store. Or in this case, we're going to be going for Nike, so we're going to type Nike and navigate over to Nike US. Now that we've done this, we have our input. So we're going to grab a Nike SKU and we're going to add them in. I don't have one handy right now, but we're going to assume that this here is the Nike SKU. This is the format that you would be inputting it into this area. The next thing we're going to do is select the account group that we plan to run. Next, the mode. Normal mode is for normal sneakers app or Nike Plus app entries. Shock drop would be for scheduled shock drops, which Polar Chefs would inform you of. If it is a shock drop, you would run shock drop mode. Now, for you to understand why the modes are different, 99% of the time when shock drops occur, Nike doesn't actually load the product to the public until drop time. But what a shock drop will do is ultimately it will prepare your browsers just so that when the release happens, it automatically navigates over to the payment page after it has found that product is live. Whereas when you're running normal already appears in the Nike launch calendar. So if you go to nike.com/launch, you'll be able to see it. And then from there, because it's already loaded for the public to see, it'll be able to recognize that and pick that up. So we're going to assume we're going for a regular release. We're going to leave it at normal. When it comes to sizing, if you want to run random, you're just going to type RA. If you want to do a size range or it a specific set of sizes, then you would just simply type the sizes in there and you would just separate them by commas, as you can see right here. And it will pick any of those sizes at random and it will attempt to enter the release flow. Couple more things to know as well too is that the re-entry button, if you wish to toggle this on, what this means is that if the account takes an L during that release, it's going to retry that entry again, but with a different size that is in stock from the range that you've given it. What account size is, if you toggle this on, is every Nike account has a profile page, and inside of the profile page, you can set preferences. Within those preferences, one of them is account size. So if my first account, we'll call it polochefs.com at gmail.com. If polochefs at gmail.com, I've set the account size preference as a size 9. If I select account size, regardless of what I've entered here, it will always choose size 9 because that is the account size that I've assigned to it. If I do not toggle this on, it will simply select from the range that I've given it. Schedule tasks, just like it states, you could schedule your tasks. When do you want your tasks to start running? And then when did you want them to stop? This is very efficient and very useful if you do not plan to be home or at the computer when an event is occurring. You would only really use the schedule task function for non-Shopify releases. So in this case, it would be either Adidas Confirm because you're logging a raffle entry, Adidas Desktop because you're trying to run first come, first serve releases or restocks, or what we're looking at today, which is a Nike sneakers entry. So if you do, in theory, wish to schedule, you're going to simply schedule start time for about 10 minutes before the scheduled drop, and you can stop at about 15 to 30 minutes thereafter. But we're going to be controlling this fully, so I will not be scheduling anything today. So we're going to toggle this off. Next thing to know is what is the advanced tab right here. So the advanced tab is simply running tasks for an amount of seconds, and then you have delays that you can adjust. If you don't understand it and you don't know what you're doing, I would advise against even touching it. We're just going to skip over this, and that's it. So here, I'm going to toggle this on because I do want re-entry, and then when it comes out to the number of tasks, the number of tasks that we're going to be entering in here is going to reflect how many accounts I have. So if I want to run all 45 of my accounts, I'm going to type 45. If I decide that I only want to run 10 accounts today, randomly from this group, then I would just put 10. You kind of catch what I'm trying to explain here. So we're going to select 45 and then we're going to go submit. And that's it. Now we've created task groups, each billing information, and each one of these has an account assigned to that. 10 minutes before the release, I'm going to simply start all, and it's going to start my tasks, and it's going to navigate over through the browser to the product page, and then once it is ready, it's going to automatically start the remaining batches of the tasks that are available. If you remember, in the beginning when we were setting things up here, we set up a browser setting limit for ourselves so that we can use that limit during sneakers releases. We set it up at 15. So when I start tasks, the first 15 will fire up while the rest of them will remain in queue. Once the next 15 is ready, the next 15 is going to fire up, so on and so forth. That's it. This is how you would be running a sneakers release. Now, if we do want to run an Adidas release, we're going to select the plus sign. We're going to search for Adidas right here. We're going to select our region. So if we're going to be doing confirmed, we're going to select confirm. Very similar to the Nike situation. You're going to plug in the SKU, or the PID is what it's known as, like so. You're going to select the mode. So if we're doing raffle entries, we're going to choose normal. If we're going to check our orders on those accounts, we're going to choose order check. But in this case, we're going to assume we're going for a raffle entry. We're going to set our sizing. And then here, as you can see, it is requesting username and password. Now, for you to understand why it's requesting this right now, it's simply because I did not create a confirmed app account group. So it's prompting me to individually add those in. Had I created an account group in the accounts tab like I did the sneakers accounts, then I would be able to select a drop down and pull accounts from that group that I create. We're going to pretend in this case that we've already assigned out that group. Then similar idea and principle, you can schedule your start and your stop if you wanted to. The advanced tab is very much the same as what I demonstrated in the sneaker side, so we're going to skip it. And then when it comes out to number of accounts, a number of tasks, that's going to reflect the number of accounts that you have. So if you're planning to enter 100 confirmed accounts, then you're going to create 100 tasks. This is for confirmed. If we're going to be doing Adidas desktop, what Adidas desktop is, it's more of a first come, first serve flow. So here we're going to select Adidas US. You're going to put in the PID or SKU. You're going to select your profile group, your proxies, your sizing. Accounts are not necessary when it comes down to regular desktop releases or restocks, so you don't have to worry about it. Of course, if you want to accumulate the status points, you're more than welcome to use the accounts because you do level up when you do make purchases. Then from there, you have the option to be able to toggle on PayPal if you'd like. It'll use the PayPal portal to complete the checkout. There is no benefit in you doing this, so don't trouble yourself trying to get that set up. Just skip it. And then here, you can select whether if you want it to be a release mode or if you're running a restock mode. So the difference between the two is when you do enable release mode, the general and the typical Adidas desktop release consists of a queue system. What is this queue system? It's a waiting room that you get put into, and utilizing Google's Gmail capture score, depending on how good it is, will be a direct correlation to how fast you will be exiting that queue. So yes, you would require Gmails that have been actively farmed and they have a good V3 0.9 score. So with that being said, when you do toggle this on, you're telling NSB to use the CAPTCHA solvers that you have to help you pass that queue, which is also known as a splash page. If we're not going to be sitting through a queue, we're just going to toggle this off. And because we're not using accounts, we're going to toggle this off. And then we're going to submit and create our tasks. And that's it. If it's a queue release, you're going to start your tasks once the queue goes up. If it's not a queue release, you're just going to start your tasks immediately. If you are going to be botting queue release Adidas, or if you're going to be botting Shopify, you're going to need capture harvesters. So in the harvester section here is where you're going to be adding in your Gmail and Proxy credentials that you've been actively farming on so that you could use them for these type of releases. Now, here's the thing. When it comes down to adding these capture solvers, one, you need to make sure that you are actively adding in Gmails that you farmed in the past. So for Shopify, you're going to need Shopify one-clicks. For Adidas passing the queue, you're going to need the V3 0.9 score that I have mentioned. If you don't have a tool, I recommend that you grab AYCD. You can generate activity on those Gmails. It is known as farming, so that you can obtain those 0.9 scores and the Shopify one-click scores that you need so you can efficiently bot those websites. When it comes down to the adding process, you're going to simply select the plus button. It's going to ask you to name the capture solver that you added. You can name this whatever you like. You can name it 1, you could call it test 1, you could call it capture 1. It's just a way of you being able to identify this specific capture solver. Once you've added the name in, you're going to add the proxy because a proxy is associated with that. Then what will happen is you're going to notice it's going to look like this. Now, of course, we're going to have a proxy in that situation, so it's not going to say no proxy. There will actually be a proxy there. You're going to want to make sure that you signed in to that Google account. So you're going to select the YouTube page, and inside of the YouTube page, you're going to go a regular and normal sign-in process. You're going to add your email. That's going to say next. You're going to add your password, and you're going to finalize the login. Once it's completed, you can close the tab. Then you're going to rinse and repeat based off of however many CAPTCHA solvers you've created. Another thing to understand and know is when it comes to Shopify, you can use AYCD's integration if you like. If you have AYCD AI auto solve, then you can use AYCD to solve Shopify CAPTCHAs, or you can allow NSB's in-bot AI solvers take care of the solving for you. So yes, if you don't have AYCD and you want to bot Shopify, believe it or not, NSB actually has automatic in-bot AI CAPTCHA solving. Now, I do know that reCAPTCHA is something that is proven and it works. I haven't tested on HCAPTCHA, so I'm not fully sure yet if HCAPTCHA solving is included or not. It is definitely worth exploring that. But at the end of the day, you do have two options that you can choose from. First one being AYCD integration, or the second one being using the in-bot solvers. Same thing when it comes down to wanting to go for Adidas Q-based releases. If it does require you to pass what is known as the splash page Q that I had talked about, then you're going to simply make sure that you're signed in and you've opened up your solver windows. So when you open them up, you'll just press the play button. Of course, there's nothing loaded in, so it's not going to open. But in theory, what would happen is it would open up and you would have them spread out among your page here. AI solving won't be needed for it because it is going to be using the V3 0.9 trust score that you established to try to pass through that queue for you. If you don't want to use Gmails within the bot, you can use AYCD. So that's this portion of it. A couple other features that you should be made aware of when it comes down to using NSB for Shopify releases is the in-bot monitor function. Now, when you select this button right here, you can create separate monitors for yourself that are directly integrated with your Discord's cook group, or the other option would simply be to select this button up here, which has this pop-up window that is actively monitoring NSB's built-in monitors. I would highly encourage you to just stick to the in-bot monitor that you see here. But if you want to make things a bit complicated for yourself and you want to integrate it into your cook group's Discord, then just simply select this button right here, and it's going to ask you to sign into Discord. So you will sign into your Discord account through NSB, and then from there, once you've done that, you're going to press create. Of course, there's nothing here, but once you have established that connection, you're going to select the Discord server, and then you're going to select the channel that you want to primarily fetch the information from as it comes. Just so you understand why I said I wouldn't recommend this is because there are many monitor providers out there, but just because there are many providers out there, it doesn't mean that they have the integration set up and in place to function the way that it needs to with NSB. So with that being said, I would advise just to stick to the in-bot monitor as mentioned. The in-bot monitor allows you to filter some things out. What does the filtration mean? You can create quick task functions through this area right here. So you can set your sizes. Pretend we're going to do random. If you want to assign proxies, you're going to assign the proxy list. Here you can filter out which profiles you want to actively use. You can only assign one at this time, so it'll be the billing info that you want to use. Then you have your mode. So do you want to fire off all the different modes, or do you want to fire off a specific one? So when something appears inside of the monitor here and you want a quick task, you're just going to simply select the play button, and it will quick task to what we have actively assigned, and it will attempt to make that purchase. That's the in-bot. we will now talk about blue tasks. What is this infamous blue tasks that everyone talks about when it comes to NSB? Blue tasks is NSB's version of automations. It's as simple as selecting the plus button, and then up at the top here, you're going to notice that there's two different types of blue tasks that you can create, which one is known as notify only, which just like it states, when you're monitoring keywords, NSB is going to make a noise like a bell or a chime informing you that the product that you're actively monitoring has restocked. And the other version of it being the auto create and start from all monitors, which is more risky, of course, because you're leaving your fate in the hands of NSB and your keywords. So with that being said, because you are creating these task groups based off of the specific keywords that you're assigning, you need to make sure that they're tight-knit enough and specific enough to where you're not accidentally picking up a product that you really don't want. For example, if you're looking for Jordan 4 Tech 4 Oreos, you're not going to put just Jordan 4, because if you put Jordan 4, it'll pick up any Jordan 4. So if you do need help with that, of course, review the keywords guide that we have within the server. If you're still finding yourself in trouble and not understanding it, just open up a ticket and we'll take the next steps from there. Now, I'm not going to create any notify ones because if I were to run automations, I would be actually running the auto create and auto start. So here's what the steps that we're going to be taking in this situation. First thing is, of course, is select that. The next thing is choosing your mode. Now you could choose from safe preload, safe, or fast mode. Safe and safe preload, these two are meant for bot protection based restocks. So like a Shoe Palace or Shop Nice Kicks, while fast mode is no bot protection. Once we've established which mode we want to run, we have to set up our keywords, our inputs. So when it comes to creating blue tasks, it's not, as I mentioned, it's not like your normal conventional automations that you're used to. You can't add in keywords for multiple products. You have to create blue task monitors specific to each product that you want to actively monitor. For example, if I want to monitor Dunk Low Pandas, then what I will be doing is Dunk Low Panda. Then I'll be adding in my negative keywords, if any. In this case, we're going to assume that I personally want to run the full size run. I want the toddlers, I want the preschools, I want the women's, I want the grade schools, and I want the men's. So I'm going to make it as generic as possible, which is what you're seeing here. Once I've established the type of keywords that I want, which is what you're seeing on the screen, comes out the sizing. So I'm going to select random because I want random sizing. I'm going to select either my task, my profile group to assign to my task, or a specific individual profile that I want to run. You can decide. Make sure my ISPs are assigned. And then when it comes down to the other functions and features here for you to understand is NSB allows you to remove specific sites from being monitored. Now, why is this important? When you're monitoring all Shopify sites also include sites that may not be within your country. So with that being said, if you're in US, there's going to be European as well as Asian websites in there. I'm sure you may not want to attempt to check out. So to avoid that, you're going to treat this like a negative keyword system, and you're going to add websites that you do not wish to be included in the monitor creation process. Examples. Let's take a look at the list right here. 1290 SQM. This is not a US site, so we're going to select the site keywords. We're going to go negative 1290 SQM. I've now negated the first website that I want to exclude from blue tasks. Next one, we're going to say above the clouds store. So same idea, space negative above the clouds story. Now, spelling may not be the same as what I just seen right here. It is very well, but do understand that it is important to make sure that you are spelling these out exactly the same way as you see it in the task or the website selection process. Once you've completed your entire list, then what you can do is either submit so that it creates the tasks as is, or if you plan to actually monitor for checkpoints, because you're hoping that the Panda Dunks are also going to be dropping on Shoe Palace or Shop Nice Kicks, you're going to be selecting the monitor checkpoint feature. When you do something like this, and when checkpoint goes up, NSB will take you through what is known as a CAPTCHA pre-farming process. What is a CAPTCHA pre-farming process? There's random keywords. It's going to sit through the queue. We're going to solve the CAPTCHAs. Then it's going to wait for the product. And then once the product that you're actively monitoring within your keywords here restocks, it's going to mass link change your tasks, and it's going to continue the checkout process. So once again, very similar to other bots that you may or may not have experience with, but that is how the flow of the monitor checkpoint function will work within NSB. If we're not going to go for this portion of it, we're just going to go for fast mode, non-bot protection, then you'll just simply select fast, and then you're going to submit. And there it is. By default, I'm going to stop this here because I don't want to accidentally check anything out. But by default, it went to monitor, and it will continue to monitor. Afterwards, if you want to stop running them, you're just going to click this button right here, which is blue tasks, and you're going to disable blue tasks. And that's really it when it comes down to NSB. It's a very, very functional, very user-friendly, and easy bot to use. If you do have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to the NSB team or read the guides or watch this video again, or even reach out to us. We're definitely more than happy to assist you. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.